To the president of Mexico today. I want to talk about tariffs because even as you're seeing this optimism and excitement, there's some nervousness over your tariffs. Markets have been selling off. People are not sure how to view it. Why did you roll back or put a pause into some of the tariffs until April 2nd?
Because I wanted to help Mexico and Canada to a certain extent. We're a big country, and they do a lot of their business with us, whereas in our case, it's much less significant. We do very little with Canada by comparison. And I wanted to help the American car makers until April 2nd. April 2nd, it becomes all reciprocal. What they charge us, we charge them. It's a big deal, but what they charge us, we charge them. But this is short term, and I felt that for the good of the American car makers and the MCA, you know, the USMCA, that's Mexico, Canada. I thought it would be a fair thing to do, and so I gave them a little bit of a break for this short period of time.
But I asked you about this before, and I know you told me when I asked you, I said, you did use MCA, you put this together.
Yeah.
And yet then you come back and you change it up with these tariffs, and you said to me at that time, I did it because I can. I put an amendment in there, and I said in 6 years I can change it. But I think CEOs want to see predictability. They say, look, I have to speak with shareholders. I've got to make plans for CapEx spending. I can't if it's 20% one day and then it's off for a month and it's 25%.
Yeah.
So can you give us a sense of whether or not we are going to get clarity for the business community?
Well, I think so. But, you know, the tariffs could go up as time goes by, and they may go up. And, you know, I don't know if it's predictability. I think
so that's not clarity?
No, I think.
I've read Marx. I've read Engels. I've read Das Kapital.
The world is run by Trotskyists.
Hardcore Trotskyists.
How great an anti-American Marxist.
They're controlled by Trotskyists, as you put it, and these are the most evil, sick human beings on the face of the planet.
Yeah, and now, and this was our segue. This will be my segue into talking about tariffs. I want to talk about tariffs.
Hey, Aaron's soon to be our countryman, is it? You're going to be joining America.
The 51st state.
Welcome aboard, Aaron.
From Vancouver to Saskatoon.
Getting really crappy health insurance. How are you feeling about it? You'll be paying 3 times the amount.
France just parked a nuclear submarine in Nova Scotia.
Wait, really?
Ostensibly as a deterrent against American aggression in Canada.
Are you serious?
I'm not joking. There's a nuclear sub from France parked in our eastern shore right now.
Okay, I'm sorry, but you can close the onion. We no longer need the onion. All right. Holy shit.
That is nuts.
Oh my God! That we have to ask you, and it was true as scary. I thought you were kidding. Okay,
let me double check because in case
I thought it was a joke
I hallucinated it.
I don't. Yeah.
I'm really kind of hoping you did because no way.
Yeah. Okay. So French nuclear attack submarine, the FS Trouville, services in Halifax Harbor in coordination with Canadian naval forces. The world's surviving free nations are honoring their commitments in unstable times.
March
11th.
Nations?
Yeah. This is following Trump's annexation threat against Canada.
You can bet that he's going to react to this like a drunken fool.
Well, how long ago was this? Was this today?
You know, this was 2 days ago.
This is this week.
Yeah. So, this was just 2 days ago.
Trump said something recently about how sometimes things happen really fast when it's in short periods of time. Or what you know the Trump quote? It's a very famous Trump quote.
There's weeks
it sounds an awful lot like Lenin. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. It's funny how Trump kind of quoted Lenin, but that's amazing. Wow, what an interesting time to be alive, Aaron.
There are times where not so much happens. And then,
Aaron, stop resisting. Okay, stop resisting. We're showing up.
Come and get it. Come and get it, bitches.
Yeah, all right. We're taking it from you, baby. We're taking your hockey, and it's going to be our.
We've already got Tim Hortons here, eh?
Yeah.
We're already exporting.
Honest, culturally, there will be not a single Tim Hortons left as far as.
How are you guys for roll up the rim? Do you guys win anything yet? Do you guys have roll the rim there?
I don't know what that term means because I don't watch hockey. Okay, I don't know if that's even a hockey reference that you just made.
No, it's
Some
not a
people
hockey.
might.
No,
It's all hockey to me.
It's not a it's not a hockey reference or a sexual reference. Roll up the rim is the there's prizes hidden underneath the rim of the cup of Tim Hortons, and so I'm actually 2 of 6 right now. So I've won 2 coffees out of the 6 that I bought. So
Aaron, once you adopt to our American Dunkin' Donuts system, you're gonna forget about whatever jibber jabber
over my dead body.
Was.
Fuck Dunkin' Donuts. This is
actually, I will go to war with this shit now. Yeah, actually, you know what?
Here we go.
I'm going to be a MAGA communist now. If it comes to making sure that coffee, which I don't approve of, to be generous to my soon-to-be countryman Aaron, folks, this may derail the entire show here. All right,
51st. Actually, it wouldn't be the 51st state. We're going to keep the territorial boundaries. So 51. Hey, how many are there? 51, 52, 53. How many territories are there, Aaron?
Tim Hortons versus America.
Yeah, so
the podcast is coming apart.
In chat there, one for Tim Hortons, two for Dunkin' Donuts. Like, let's see what the chat says.
Yeah, it's going to be Dunkin' Donuts, and I know your paid Canadian bots, Aaron, are seen as un-American.
If anyone says
very
Dunkin'
un-American
of
you to say that. All right, that's it. Yep, there we go.
Timmy's, you American hogs. Okay, so we got three for Timmy's, none for Dunkin'. Anyway.
You just got your Canadian friends to go online. Okay, take all your French attack missiles and ships, and you know what? Whatever
French attack missiles, I love
whatever
it.
They are, and your little submarines that no one. Come on, one submarine, and we're gonna back down from Dunkin' Donuts over my cold patriotic socialist hands.
What's the difference? The difference is a Tim Hortons double is perfection. It's the nectar of the gods, and a Dunkin' Donuts coffee is dishwater. So that's the difference.
All right.
No, I will say
we're gonna have re-education camps as far as I'm concerned to get you back on the.
When I went to Boston, because I actually did go to Boston. I eat Dunkin' Donuts like 5 days in a row.
And why was it the best days of your life?
And the last day we were out there, I watched my brother take one bite of a donut. He gagged it out
because it was so good. And there was so much flavor.
And then he wanted to eat it again. See, it was so good.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. You can't eat. He probably ate 10. He ate 10 in a row.
Oh
he was like, I can't possibly have
he
this
gagged
much
it out,
flavor.
threw the donut in the bag, threw the bag in the garbage.
Right, because it's really good. Yeah, no, don't eat the plain donuts. That's for dunking your coffee. You know, get something wild. But I some of the fans might have come in here for something political, and I feel like we got rated. We should stop talking about obsolete Canadian coffee culture. All right,
I don't remember what we were talking about. Something about tariffs. So
we're trying to transition to tariffs.
We're trying
to talk about tariffs.
And you start
tariffs on
shit.
Dunkin' Donuts.
Oh, and I looked it up. So
country.
Canada has 10 provinces and 3 territories.
Yes, very good, Matt.
How long have you had that for? That's amazing. Congratulations.
Well, you know, when we weren't too busy kicking indigenous people off their land, we acquired. There was like a bunch during Confederation in 1867, and then they just become provinces like over time.
So that's 13 new states right there. Plus Greenland is number 14.
Newfoundland
Panama
became a province in like 1945 or something like that. Anyway,
yeah.
Anyway, so so there's an unconfirmed. So just this week, things are moving quickly on these tariffs. There's an unconfirmed memorandum and a map that got leaked on Twitter. It revealed that Trump is allegedly planning to annex the entirety of the Great Lakes and Southern Ontario, home to about 13.5 million Canadians. So that amounts to about 35% of Canada's total population and includes its largest city, Toronto. This region accounts for 38% of the Canadian economy, and its loss would make Canada's independence functionally impossible. The next day, Canada's foreign minister warns European allies that their government considers Canada to be under existential threat. So our ruling class is actually kind of shaken by this. Like, you know, Trump is very unpredictable, and we're a country of 40 million people. We're the size of California. And if honestly, if you guys wanted to annex us, all you have to do is sign a paper. Like, we will not put up a fight. We do not have a Second Amendment to defend ourselves. The RCMP just today released a massive list of new guns that are banned, that are now paperweights. Yeah.
What do you guys have, like flintlock muskets now? Is that how you're gonna keep going? We have 2 cannons.
Hey, we did it. We did it against the British.
Aha!
Bring back sabers.
So our new prime minister, we just got a new prime minister, Mark Carney.
The banker. How's he doing?
Harper's banker. So he in his acceptance speech, he states that Trump is seeking to destroy Canada and its way of life. So again, they're taking this very seriously because Trump is so unpredictable and he's so incredibly dumb and he's such a madman that he might actually do it.
Yeah. Do you feel like they're just saying that rhetoric to get votes? Because I know it's been a hit with the Liberal Party. Because I know they were in the teens, right?
They were absolutely getting crushed under. And then
yeah,
Trudeau,
I mean, dude, I think they might be doing it to like manipulate the markets. Honestly, that's with the tariff stuff too. It's like you see like all these the stock market taking a nosedive, and it's like there's got to be some like sell off, and then gets bought up by whoever. Like, I'm sure there's some scheming going on there.
I mean, there's an old thing. It was the great Marxist Homer Simpson who once pointed out that the symbol for crisis is the same crisis as opportunity. You know, like if you're smart enough, crisis-opportunity, right? Like there is that whole thing in there. And I do feel that like the Liberal Party has gained. I mean, like I said, they're that guy now. It's still pretty much not. They're not going to win. I mean, the Liberals have a better chance, but they're not probably. I mean, you're closer to it than I am. But I mean, what's your political take on it?
Trudeau is facing such severe unpopularity, and I think the timing with Trump getting elected and being a giant idiot. At the same time, Trudeau was like, I cannot deal with this guy. And I think Trump was a big part of Trudeau resigning. This new guy's come in, and Liberals have seen a massive bump in the polls because of the tariffs. We're seeing massive cultural shift. There's a unity now. There's a nationalism that's back in vogue. I know it's back in vogue in Canada. Every grocery store has slapped a little Maple Leaf sticker on every product on the shelf that's made in Canada. American products are being boycotted across the board. Air Canada flights are empty going into the States. People refuse to cross the border and go spend money in the States. I'm not joking. Like this is shockingly rallied and unified Canadians in a way that we haven't seen in a long time. Funny enough, just a little bit. So on the nationalist part, so a few years ago, you may have heard that there was the so-called discovery of murdered Indigenous children at the residential schools that were buried across the residential school program. And the reason I say discovered in quotes is because Indigenous survivors of these death camps. Let's be real. There were labor camps and death camps. The survivors always knew where they were buried, where their friends were buried, and where their siblings were buried. They always knew, and nobody believed them until we had to prove it scientifically with ground penetrating radar. That was a few years ago. And honestly, like right around Canada Day, a lot of people just didn't fly the Canadian flag. I think as a nation, we were kind of sickened by it. It was the first time I think we actually had to come face to face with this history. And
you guys have shame there?
I was just going to say, you do have shame. Wow. Great. We don't. And we killed 1 million Iraqis. We don't care.
Christ.
Seriously, we murdered him. Is anyone feeling? Is George W. Bush in jail? No. At least you guys did some kind of shame. Yeah.
So I think a lot of people, we're pretty grossed out by the Canadian flag. It just wasn't flown during our Canada Day, Confederation Day, right? July 1st.
I see very little Canadian. When I went through Canada, I drove through half the country. If anyone's in America and they drive through Canada, the lack of like country, a lot of provincial flags, I would see maybe here and there. We're in Quebec, a lot of what's like the French flag with the gold star on it. I saw a lot of those.
I don't know. I can't think right now.
Okay, I know you're tired, but very few Canadian flags. But all right, I know I'm interrupted.
So for the first time, we actually had to we had to reckon with our history, and this isn't exactly ancient history. There's survivors of these schools. That last school that I talked about closed. The last one. You guys want to guess when the last school closed? The last.
I know the answer, but I won't say. I know the answer.
Sometime in the 90s, at least.
Yeah, 1995. Jesus. Yeah, it is
holy
insane.
shit.
I'm not joking.
Oh my god.
Yeah. And
we were all alive for that.
The flag sort of got that left it open. The flag was then kind of reclaimed by the trucker convoy.
I was just remember that. The second time I saw it was a trucker convoy.
We had our own cowardly January 6th, right? So we're a bunch of petty bourgeois owner operators who could afford to take time off, go and honk their horns and get drunk and play street hockey. They set up a bouncy castle, and just parked in downtown Ottawa and honked their horns all goddamn day for no reason. they didn't make it. There weren't any demands other than mandate freedom, whatever the fuck that meant. It was this massive petty bourgeois temper tantrum, and there were
they're good at that. They're real good at that.
There were no demands. It was so weird, but like now they started.
There never are any good demands. It's just like the Tea Party all over again.
Yeah,
I asked someone at the Tea Party, okay, so you're going to start a tech strike, right? No, we wouldn't do that. Really? Then what's the point? They didn't have an answer. They never have an answer.
Yeah, I'll never forget my favorite clip from January 6th, other than the guy falling off the wall. That's my favorite one. But like my second favorite one was two very frumpy looking dudes. One of them points at the building, the Capitol building, and goes, "We're gonna take that building." And then the other guy's glasses don't fit on his face. He goes, "And then do what?" Like, that sums it up perfectly. We're gonna take that building, and then what? What's your plan?
You don't have one, do you? No, no, they don't.
But now it feels good to fly the Canadian flag again, because now we're all in this together. It's like COVID all over again. We're trying to support our local exploiters. Galen Weston, he's our grocery store cartel guy, billionaire. So we have to support Canadian billionaires now. We're all lining up behind our own.
You're gonna buy your way more expensive cell phone plans up there in Canada too.
Oh my god,
it's insane what you guys pay for cell phones up there. Wow, it's like you have two choices, right? Like you're gonna purposely buy more expensive stuff. So that's cool, but.
So that's kind of where we're at. So 2 days ago, Trump threatens to permanently shut down the automobile manufacturing business in Canada if Canada does not drop a 250% to 390% tariff on U.S. dairy products, which he doesn't state only kicks in after a certain quantity of tariff-free U.S. dairy enters in Canada. That was the agreement signed by Trump 1 during the USMCA in 2018.
Oh, that stupid thing.
We have our dairy supply management system, which is very good. It keeps profits high and dairy farmers well paid, and we have good quality product. So fuck your free market. This is what happens. Like even a modicum of state control over products is good for everybody. We don't want the 17 tons of American cheese crossing our border every second. It's fucking ludicrous how much cheese you guys produce.
There's so much cheese here that they force fucking like restaurants to shove cheese into everything. They're like stuffed cheese pizza crust.
Everything's so damn salty because of it. My God.
You could use cheese to talk about like how markets need to find new
corn and cheese.
A cheese-based economy that works for everybody.
Drink your corn slurry. No, like I think
yes, corn slurry with cheese.
And
sounds like an Iowa delicacy.
Yeah, a comment from Donut Jimmy in the chat. The cheese caves are real. Darren, do you know about the cheese caves? Everyone know about this stuff? So back in during the Depression, all the farmers were hurting bad. So America said, "Hey, all the cheese farmers, we'll buy every single piece of cheese you got. We'll buy it all up." And the farmers were like, "Great, here's an insanely high amount of them." And they had so much of it, they had to just dump it all into a cave. But this cave does exist. Yes. Thank you, Arfit. Yes, that is true.
The smelliest cave ever.
I don't know. I mean, maybe it's so packed, so airtight, you can't get into it. But yes, that cheese cave is real. I'm a proud American. Dunkin' Donuts and cheese caves. Those are the only things I believe in this country.
Oh my God.
We don't have health care. We don't have secondary education. We got a cheese cave and Dunkin' Donuts. And I'll fight a war to make sure Canadians get our cheese caves and Dunkin' Donuts. You deserve good coffee and a triple hard bypass.
Suddenly all those signs that say hell is real in America, it's taken a whole new meaning, Chris.
We are. God, we used to be a nation that built bridges and shit. Now we can't even get health care to everybody. But
all those bridges are rotting away and falling.
Patch them up with cheese.
We've got a whole cheese cave. Come on.
Right. What?
Cheese-based infrastructure.
On a more serious note, so we have there's a local brewery in my town. The beer's good, and the issue is that they were on the newspaper comes to the mail, so I get to read it because we don't have paper boys anymore. No one gets enough newspapers. But no, they were concerned that they have aluminum cans. All of the aluminum cans come from Canada, and that's going to hurt them a lot. you're going to see, like I said, that's a small brewery, and I love alcohol, and I'm doing this for the beer, but like that's going to jack up the price a lot on the beer. Obviously America is a more diversified, bigger population, bigger economy. This tariff war thing that's going on between our two countries, it's going to hurt Canada far more than it's going to hurt us, because it's like Venezuela's had
That's
oil.
probably the point.
Right. Like at the end of the day, even though you see all this kind of like, oh, we're going to buy Canada, it's nice, but in a free market, it's not like if Canada went to a planned economy like Cuba did, it could probably weather the storm better. But if Canada's using free market principles, they're going to
lose.
Oh, I was going to get to that about what the working class. We'll get to that. The working class.
Okay, I don't want to steal your thunder,
to the tariffs, but I still wanted to just go through it because there's still lots of fun.
Yeah, definitely.
Here.
But I've been dying to talk about this shit for so long with a Canadian. So there we go.
In Trump's own words, Trump says the only thing that makes sense is for Canada to become our cherished 51st state. This would make all tariffs and everything else totally disappear. Canadians' taxes will be very substantially reduced. They'll be more secure militarily and otherwise than ever before. And there will be no longer a northern border problem. The greatest and most powerful nation in the world will be bigger, better, and stronger than ever. And Canada will be a big part of that. An artificial line of separation drawn many years ago will finally disappear. And we have the safest and most beautiful nation anywhere in the world. You know what? Shout out to the anti-imperialist Trump for not recognizing artificially drawn borders. Because that was
he accidentally quoted Lenin, and he calls borders. Okay, he's 2 out of 3,000, but I gotta give him those 2. All right,
I can't wait to tune in.
Come rally.
What if ACP was right all along?
Oh, I can't wait to tune in.
Oh my God, we've been making fun of MAGA communism, but really.
Yeah,
he's against borders now. Jesus. Oh, I got egg on my face. Jackson Hinkle will be up next, everyone.
Yeah, I can't wait to tune into the 3-hour Haas.
Bite your tongue.
Let's fight the last fight. No war but class war.
Many people, they try to build communism, didn't build communism very well. Bureaucrats did it not very good. We have the working class. We have the greatest working class. We're going to have it better than anyone else. There could be tremendous working class solidarity between our two countries. Holy shit. Oh my God.
He goes, he continues, and your brilliant anthem, O Canada, will continue to play, but now representing a great and powerful state within the greatest nation that the world has ever seen. So the deal is we get to keep our anthem.
That's really, like, I can't tell.
It's going to kill Texas in terms of size. I can tell you that. If it's all one state.
One country, two anthems.
Oh my God! What about the French Canadian? That's oh boy.
Hey man, nobody gets to threaten Canada's sovereignty except the French.
That's right. God damn it! We tried to take Quebec from you, but that didn't work out.
Good luck with that.
Tried it twice.
we kind of did 2 times. We're like, please, and they're like, no. And I'm like, please, no. All right, fine.
So 2 days ago, Trump again publicly muses Canada, Greenland, and the U.S. should be one country. Questions the validity of the Canadian-American border. Same day, Canada sells $3.5 billion of its U.S. bonds. The next day, so yesterday, Canadian Finance Minister Dominique LeBlanc announces tariffs on $29.8 billion worth of goods. This includes tariffs on steel, aluminum, computers, tools, sporting equipment, and cast iron products. Yesterday, a French Barracuda nuclear attack submarine docks in Halifax, a major Canadian post on the East Coast. This follows comments made by Macron last week that France will protect its allies under its nuclear umbrella. U.S. imperialism and capitalism is on a relative decline across the world, and with them no longer being able to project power like they used to. So as the period of prolonged crisis continues, the American state has no choice but to implement protectionist policies to entice corporations to return production to America. In doing so, they punish American workers by slapping tariffs on steel and aluminum and other cheap imports. They keep spouting this lie that we're like it's the other countries that are paying the tariffs. It's like no, like the American consumers are paying the tariffs. It's going to be the cost is going to be passed on to them. It's paid for by the consumer, the buyer, and in this case, the working class. The automotive industry is going to be especially hard hit because parts are shipped back and forth multiple times over the border in their production, and this would require tariffs on every single border crossing.
No shit, like a steering wheel, then an airbag, like different. This is going to be a shit show. Your car's going to be $900,000 by the end of it.
So the leader of the UAW and the Teamsters are
Mr. Sean
backing.
Fain.
Our good friend. They're backing Trump's plan to protect American industry, and because they think this will benefit the working class, but it will do the opposite.
That's so fucked.
Speaking of the UAW, just a quick insertion. I just read something. It said the Columbia University has expelled and fired Grant Miner, president of the UAW Local 2710, which represents thousands of Columbia student workers.
Great.
The firing comes one day before contract negotiations were set to open with the university, and I'll just leave it there.
That's interesting. How
lately too.
It's interesting how these like hedge fund funded colleges just are like jumping at the chance to do fascism. They're just like, oh yeah, yeah, absolutely, yes sir. Like,
I mean, unfortunately for them, like the head of the NLRB, like normally, like as communists, we should be against the NLRB because the NLRB was meant to be a braking system for an emerging labor market, like a for the labor movement in like the 1930s and 40s. Sadly, it's like they're the referees that now protect workers because labor laws, like the labor movement's dying. But with the head of the NLRB back, I think that's dumb timing because, the NLRB will just get the steward, the union leader's job back. Unless like, the guy was smoking crack on the job, which might be frowned upon by, the company. But I find that suspicious. Like I said, I would like to know how the basis of that happened. But yeah, Columbia University, because they're in danger of losing their grants, right? Isn't Trump was threatening to cut off, I think, Emerson College, Boston University, all the ones that were having student protests, which might segue into a point by Aaron if he was want to talk about that too. But holy moly, it is that is shocking. There's just so much shit to like. I can't keep up with this shit. It's just that quick moving.
Oh, it's crazy. But just to get back to tariffs for a second, what the working class response is. So here we have Teamsters Canada. They're urging the federal government to ensure workers impacted by Trump tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum to receive adequate emergency support. So during COVID, Ottawa passed a bunch of. So we had, remember, our CERB. You get it in like 10 seconds when you're on the phone. The Canadian Emergency Response Benefit. So it was $2,000 a month per person. Corporations in Canada also received the Canadian Emergency Wage Subsidy. So it was these massive grants that, for workers who get laid off, they were still to receive 75% of their wages from the company. The problem is a lot of those companies, they use that money to shore up more shareholder stocks. They got funded by the government. They still laid off their workers and they didn't have to pay those loans back. So
wait, are you saying that corporations only care about profits?
Yes.
That's crazy.
So let's not make that mistake again. The president of Canadian Teamsters is saying exactly that. Let's tie financial support directly to employment levels rather than providing companies with an unrestricted blank check. Companies should only receive assistance if they can effectively prevent layoffs. Moreover, the union is calling on the government to cap executive compensation and shareholder payouts for companies that accept federal support. To state the obvious, trade wars hurt both companies and workers, but too often the help given to companies doesn't trickle down to the workers, said Francois Laporte, president of Teamsters Canada. We need solutions that keep people working, not handouts that disappear into executive bonuses and shareholder buyouts. Tying support directly to employment levels is one way to ensure relief reaches the people who need it most while keeping companies afloat. So this is a breath of fresh air. A union leader actually stepping up and making the right call. I say we could go further. I think we all could go. This could go further. But for a union leader to say this, all right. Yeah, no, it's a nice relief at least. Yeah. I think obviously we always say turn the guns around and against our own leadership, but at the same time,
as Rosa Luxemburg and Carl Levin said, the real enemy is at home.
The main enemy is at home. But like
it. Yep.
And we're all about communist revolution here, but like you don't even need to be in a communist revolution to provide support for the working class. During World War II, a lot of essential industries were nationalized. I mean, that was to protect capitalism, but after World War II, we saw one of the greatest booms in the economy. During
the war, we had rations. Did Canada have rations?
Did we? I don't know.
Because we used to have ration books. That was how you got bread. It was price controlled. That's how it kept down inflation. The government would issue a ration book of stamps. You get butter, cheese, pound of meat, chicken or
Tim
whatever.
Hortons.
Tim Hortons.
You're only limited to 8 double doubles a day. Like, oh, this is communism. This is tyranny.
You've gone too far. Yeah, people are burning down the distribution centers because there's not enough.
Can you imagine MAGA reacting to a wartime economy of nationalizing?
Like they were going to shoot people because they shut down Arby's during the pandemic. Like the petty bourgeois, just like they got all that free government PPP money and it wasn't enough for them at all. It's like,
exactly.
Like the hospitals are overflowing with people. Can we just cool it for a bit so that numbers can go down, then we can resume? Like, oh my fucking God.
But we would make the call for not only just for nationalization, but nationalization under workers' control, right? Not necessarily ownership, right? I think we can all agree, like, co-ops are a silly solution, but yeah, I guess better than nothing. But really, nationalization. In a socialist
planned economy, co-ops could work. Yes, in a planned economy,
sure,
right.
But we have our criticisms of co-ops, but like nationalization under democratic control, that would be something. We could nationalize our steel industry. We could nationalize our oil and sell it to our own workers at cost, rather than, and that ensures everyone gets paid, and it keeps gas down, it keeps our products prices down. You could nationalize steel, and keep the industry at home. And if the bosses are like, well, we can't afford it, we're getting killed by these tariffs, you know what? Open the books. That's another demand that we, as the working class, can make. Open the books, because you're either lying or you're incompetent.
Right.
And this is why it's important to read and understand Trotsky's transitional program. He has all this stuff. It's about how can the working class take power in the absence of a revolutionary party. And that's like transitional program, I think, as far as Trotsky's works goes, is underappreciated. We always talk a lot about history of the Russian Revolution and I don't know what else did Trotsky write. I don't think he wrote that much.
Revolution.
I don't think. Yeah,
I know. I'm joking. Revolutionary Trade also a masterpiece.
Yep.
But transitional program is mandatory reading.
But all he did was just write books. He never led anything. I mean, come on, name one thing he led.
Really, name one successful Trotskyist revolution.
Right. Someone said that to me, and I go, the Soviet Union.
Let's see, 1917.
All right, besides that, I'm like, what do you mean besides? That's all you need is that one.
Russian Civil War.
Yeah, like, I don't know. What's the Trotsky revolution done?
But so what has the response to Trump's tariffs been? We talked a little bit about the nationalism. It's been predictable, if not entirely laughable. Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario, he took all American liquor and beer off the shelves to entice Canadian drinkers to buy local. The LICBO is the largest purchaser of alcohol in the world.
The what?
The LICBO, the LCBO, the Liquor Control Board of Ontario. It actually goes back.
Oh, all right. I don't.
Okay.
I'm like, is that like a strip club? Like, okay, all right. All right. I mean, maybe they do a lot of business at the LICBO. I don't know, but okay.
On Trash Future, someone said
we've got to learn these Canadian references when we're all part of the same country.
Yeah, because we'll all be part of the same great nation soon.
Yep. You'll be speaking American in no time, Aaron. That's the old language. Yep. We're bringing in the new language called just the liquor. I don't know.
It's just the best. It's the best it's ever been in the history of the world.
On the podcast Trash Future, somebody said LICBO, and they're like, and they're British. Like, what is that? Some kind of weird bow flags?
Right. I would to sex stuff. I'm glad I'm the perv of the group, but all right, good. All right, that's cool.
So personally, like, I buy local beer wherever I can because it's usually craft beer and it's usually far superior.
Yeah. If it's Union, I only drink PBR because if Union is supporting workers, yes. I'll drink. I'm only drinking to support Union.
PBR Union, that's cool.
Yeah, our cheapest one of our cheapest beers is Brava, which is Union. So I also when I want to go on a bender, that's usually what's my go-to. Brava is a really great beer.
Good. So I hope you have guns and you drink at the same time because that's a great combination.
American pastime. I mean, I got to get used to it.
Oh yeah, I know. We'll teach you it.
I had a point on the tariffs. I just was gonna say that we've been reading Luxemburg's Reform and Revolution together as a group, and one point that she made in chapter 4 of that work was about actually she talked about tariffs. She addressed them directly, and she makes the point that in kind of like the rising stage of capitalism, tariffs can kind of serve a progressive role because they allow you to protect like fledgling industries that are just getting started up, and you do import substitution. But in the advanced, like decaying capitalism, they really are mostly reactionary. And what they allow you, because basically what they allow them to do is to protect these like inefficient, local corporations like that are not investing in like improving their productivity and all this stuff, that the rate of profit's really low, and allows the capitalist class to restore profitability to some of these places, and kind of just let them continue to kind of hang on. And what I was going to say was that if you look at the tariffs, like about who's paying for the tariffs, you got to remember that it's going to be the workers that are buying. It's when the person who buys the import is the one that's getting hit with a tariff. But also once you set a tariff, right? Let's say if you have like a tariff, let's say like the market price of like, I don't know, a pound of steel is like $10, right? Let's say then you put a tariff on a $10 tariff, so now your imported steel is $20. Well, that's now that makes like the domestic steel look pretty good, like $10 versus $20. But the domestic, the benefit the domestic producers are getting is that they can just kind of they can undercut the foreign capitalists, but they can also do that at another higher weight. They basically now have
like 19. Can they do like $19?
Exactly.
I'll do 19.
So they can raise their prices to like $19 and still undercut foreign steel. And so these are the dynamics of the tariffs. And if it's basically just going to come down, it's going to hurt workers 100%. And
no doubt.
If I could piggyback on that, because that's I always bring this up to people too. It's like tariffs are meant to be surgical, like say, for example, like what Rosa Luxemburg's saying, like it's a fledgling industry. Like if you're trying to start your own steel, you're in country X and you're trying to get it going, you want to say like you have a small steel mill, but they're unionized and you want to protect the union jobs and you're starting off, you might say, all right, look, we're going to keep it like, say you're $10 an hour, China or China's trying to they're selling it for $5. All right, so we're going to put a tariff that makes China steel $11, exactly just the right point. Therefore, we can keep the unionized workforce. There'll be a small profit for the fucking parasite capitalists, but like it's a scalpel, not just blanket 50. Like you can't just go in and do it to all of it because it doesn't work that way. And they were like, and the Trump regime was like, oh, we're not doing any carve-outs. Now they're doing carve-outs. Now we're not doing carve-outs. And then J.D. Vance goes, no carve-outs. Okay, the GM gets a carve-out, but for 1 month and that's it. And Toyota. It's just, this is why capitalism and the stock market require stability. I think today, officially, we are in a correction today, as with the stock market. We're in a correction right now.
Yeah, it's the old adage
if you plan on retiring, like a lot of my coworkers, like older people who like thought Daddy Trump was going to take care of them, I take your fucking money and put in the government bonds right now because you're gonna get hosed for the next few months. It's
the old adage that capitalists are bad at capitalism. Like they don't want to put limits and controls on anything, so it's just out of control.
especially in like the neoliberal kind of era, right? Like they really don't. Everything is like comes down to this like just let the market do what it's going to do. But it's going to drive up more inflation. And what's interesting is that a pretty sizable reason of why Trump won in this last election is like the economic kind of voter, right? And like people are being hosed by inflation and they just want it to stop. And so you vote for the other person because the Democrats aren't acknowledging that anything about the inflation. They're pretty much just like,
look at the stock market. They look at the stock market. The stock market's doing good. What are you complaining about? Like that's their fucking answer the whole time.
Yeah.
So it'll cause. I think it'll cause some
now.
of that. It'll cause like some ruptures. I think within like this the Trump supporting sections of the working class. I think that when they see that there's going to be even more inflation, you know what I mean? I think that'll be an interesting wake-up call.
Yeah. So much for bird flu, huh? Thank God you get rid of a lot of people in the FDA working on that one.
Oh, yeah. Don't get started about that shit. Like all this other,
There's an end game that the Republicans the Trumpers are aiming for. And I don't know if they've openly said what it's going to be, but I think their method is wholesale just chaos until eventually they land on that square. But saying that we understand the logic that they're aiming for is I think it's too early to say that we understand that, even us looking at it, because it's so erratic.
Yeah.
It is extremely
We want to
chaotic.
interpret the different tariffs as if it's aiming for, okay, now this is going to happen. That may not even be their end game. They may just be looking for chaos, disrupt this industry and then create a deal that looks better than the chaos we just created. That's the general line I'm sort of starting to understand from them, is that they're trying to renegotiate a bunch of new deals by destroying infrastructure that's already there, so that then they can claim that they've created a new order that's actually stable but different from what there was before.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, a part of me just thinks they don't have a fucking plan. I think vaguely, what they want to do with Doge is that, like, they want to squeeze, like, they need to squeeze money out of the federal government.
I still cannot, but like, literally Doge is like the misspelling of dog. It's from back in the day where people would laugh online and call Spider-Man Spoderman, and like all of the misspellings that became like instant text memes. This is where that comes from. This is Elon Musk doing his most 4chan, in public.
Yeah, it makes you think. It makes everyone feel like, oh, this is just some joke, right? Haha, we're just like destroying all these like institutions,
people's jobs and lives,
Department of Ed, DPA, like all this shit,
and they're like firing veterans. Too, like veterans from the VA, like you're going after your core constituents, dude. Like, nice going.
The ultimate goal is to completely gut or privatize Social Security and Medicare. That's
right.
Like that's they're not going to touch the military.
It's criminal.
And also, as mentioned,
people are going to fall into
post
poverty
office
even
and
worse than they
Amtrak,
already are now.
Right.
I mean, there are people on Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. That's what keeps them in a barely falling apart apartment. And every time, like relatives of mine, if Medicare, Medicaid went away as well as that, they'd be out on the street with no medical care.
Yeah.
And they would just die. That would be their end state. And it just guts me to think about that happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like the VA, like a lot of people who come back from war all messed up, they got Agent Orange, or they were near a burn pit in Iraq, and they go to the VA for their health care, and now they're shutting down the VA. They're massively cutting it down to nothing. And we're these veterans who were used as cannon fodder for the wars for Wall Street. And now what?
They don't care. I mean, you remember back to post World War I, where all of the veterans in Germany, who happen also to be Jewish, thought that they were safe because they were veterans. And of course, they all got packed off to a camp. The fascists didn't care. The industrialists that backed them didn't care. Why should we expect them to care today? They're not going to do that.
Yeah, well, it's I don't know if we've gotten to it yet, but the idea that this guy Mahmoud Khalil can get
God,
I guess a judge blocked it for now, but I don't think Trump really gives a fuck.
But he's still in Louisiana, still in their custody. It's not like they're just going to open the door and let him go.
Yeah, and if they can indefinitely detain someone like that and threaten him with deportation and probably actually deport him, then they can take away your citizenship.
Yeah.
I think every fuck, man. I wanted to talk about that too. I want to finish.
I know we're hitting up on the 2-hour mark too.
But like,
let's keep talking.
We've got a lot to talk about.
We have so much to talk about.
We could do a whole episode on free speech and then Mahmoud Khalil. All I can say is free Mahmoud Khalil.
Absolutely.
We could do an entire episode, a third one.
We're actually going to fight
alone.
We're fighting for free speech now. Literally, we are fighting for free speech. Finally, the left gets to take that mantle back.
Every employee at Columbia College right now who's just keeping their head down and told to shut up and just go to work and ignore it, fuck off. Like, get out. Like, just walk out. Like, Columbia is known as like the anti-war, Vietnam protest era. We're against every war except the current one, kind of like, liberal college bullshit now. And years from now, when this is all passed, they're going to be like, yeah, of course we we were proudly host to the Palestinian encampments, even though like was it Colombia that unleashed like the fascist gangs?
Yeah,
that like
no, that was UC Berkeley.
That was UC
Well,
Berkeley. But this just came down about 2 hours ago. Words come down. It says Columbia University announces multi-year suspensions, temporary degree revocations, and expulsions for students who participated in pro-Palestinian protests on campus last spring. The protest last spring, they're using a list from that last spring protest to start sanctioning people who have already left the college with degrees. Okay.
Jesus Christ.
Lists are good, right?
I'm sure Mossad was taking a very good list of it.
That's where this is gone. They're following Trump's edicts on this.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, like
Biden,
they're doubling down.
Biden set the stage for this just real quick.
Yeah.
Right.
This is Dima Khalidi founder of Palestine Legal. This is Biden set the stage for Trump to suppress pro-Palestine activism.
Unfortunately, these priorities don't differ significantly between the two parties. One pretends to care about these things while the other openly disdains the government's responsibility to care for its people.
Dima Khalidi is the founder of Palestine Legal, a nonprofit supporting pro-Palestinian
What the Biden administration, what many past administrations, Democratic or Republican, have shown is that they are willing to undermine fundamental constitutional human rights. If you're willing to send billions of dollars in bombs and aid to a state that the world agrees is committing a genocide, instead of spending those billions to provide people in this country with the dignity that they need to live, whether it's housing or healthcare or education, the priorities are very clear.
Many rights
Couldn't have
advocates
said it
say
better myself.
Biden's legacy will be defined by his support for Israel's human rights abuses. Since October 7th, the U.S. has given Israel $17.9 billion in military aid. Palestine Legal reported repression against pro-Palestinian activism reached an all-time high last year.
Under the Biden administration, we've seen accelerated surveillance of the movement. We've seen the unleashing of law enforcement to arrest protesters. We've seen protesters charged with all kinds of crimes for protesting. We've seen private citizens filing lawsuits against activists with labels of anti-Semitism, of terrorism. These are the kinds of tools that we know will be used because they already have been used.
President Trump claimed Biden's Gaza policy has been weak.
Based on what?
Trump-aligned think tank Heritage Foundation drafted a plan to further crack down on protesters. The plan's called Project Esther. This could include the expanded use of anti-terrorism laws to target student activists. Anti-communist laws, too, I will
prescriptions
say.
to deport foreign students, right, who are engaged in protests for Palestinian rights. We expect the use of laws initially created to target mafias, to create this narrative of some kind of conspiracy among activists. And again, this is not new. The tactics that have been and are being used against the immigrant rights movement, racial justice movements, indigenous and climate justice movements are also going to be tooled.
Khalidi says the intensified threat means that activists should unite.
Part of the tactic, I think, will be to set so many fires on so many fronts, and it will create situations where people and movements might be willing to let go of one thing in order to save another. This kind of environment of constant attack also creates internal divisions, and that is another thing that is so important to resist, efforts to divide us.
Agreed.
Not just within movements, but across movements.
That was Al Jazeera. Yep.
Yeah.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
And that last point about divisions within movements, I think that's something we need to keep in mind. Even though that there are divisions between our different sects or different parts of the left that are just sort of small local regional movements with different priorities, to take a page from Lenin, in order to build a left movement that's all American. And I hate to use that word that way, okay? But I'm just using it in his all Russian sense. We're going to have to be able to, look past our are petty differences, and I say that in the best positive spirit possible in order to do exactly what Khalidi is mentioning at the end of this article.
Yeah, I mean, it's a time for coalition building, which even the hardcore revolutionaries that we admire had to do at times. Even if things will change down the line, like that's kind of what it's time for right now.
Yeah. I mean, that's concerning. The problem is, I think with me, and I think a lot of people, like, there's just so much shit flying at us at any time between, is there, like, what's going on in Ukraine? What's going on in China? This guy's being arrested for freedom of speech. Musk is doing Nazi salutes. They're coming after the post office where I work. Like, it's like, like we're having a rally. My union's falling apart. Like, it's so much, and you can't, and like, god damn, like this.
And my job as an archaeologist depends on development, and so like our developer is gonna be hit hard with the tariffs and everything too. Like, but like we have to remember, like everything is in some way connected, and tariffs only hurt workers on both sides of this artificially drawn border. We need to have cross border solidarity. We have to unite these movements together, and we can fight back even without a socialist revolution. Like I mentioned earlier, history is full of workers fighting back through general strikes, factory occupations, mass movements. I just finished a book by Vincent Bevins, If We Burn. It's all about mass movements of the last 20 years.
Yes, absolutely.
They have completely fizzled out. Oftentimes they backfire, and things are worse than ever, even though more people have hit the streets and in protests.
The George Floyd protest.
George Floyd. 26 million Americans marched for George Floyd. And what was the
result?
Remember,
it only took a bread line in Russia.
26 million Americans marched for George Floyd, and the end result was California's top cop became VP, and $100 million more to police departments across the country under Biden, and more surveillance, more censorship, more deportations. These things are connected. Everything's connected to all this. So we've seen these mass movements, they fizzle out into nothing, or they get co-opted by small L liberals into meaningless gestures and symbolic posturing. And what the book kind of concludes is the left is actually starting to, he's just a journalist, he's not a Marxist. He concludes people are actually starting to, not only they're getting fed up with these movements going nowhere, and you don't see it go the other way around. People are rediscovering the methods of Marx and Lenin. Marxists come into their own from movements like these after getting fed up with how things go, and you don't often see it go the other way around very often, right? And if this is what it takes for workers to wake up, it's important we don't get smug and uppity and go, well, what did you expect, right? We have to welcome radicalized people into the movement and patiently educate them into a fighting force. I think we're going to see a lot of people just be fed up with this. Even Trump voters who are like, I didn't expect him to go this far, and now my life is ruined. And it's like,
don't do the ha thing, because like I get it at first, like I had my high school girlfriend. She broke my heart, and then like some bad stuff happened to her, and I was laughing, and then stuff got worse for her, and I'm like, okay, this isn't funny anymore. Now I think I feel bad. Like I know the Trump people voted in this idiot. And not like the Democrats are much better, but like especially people who work at the VA. We've seen all those like tweets and messages where like, "Dear President Trump, I voted for you, but I work at the USDA, and now you're like, I'm getting fired. Like, what's going on? I know you're gonna fix this, but my name is Jack Smith. Please put me back to work." Like, it's like, it's funny at first, but you're like, dude, but this is some guy's livelihood. And then he is a member of the working class, a misguided one, but like, I don't want to see harm come to my people in the working class.
Right.
We want what's best for you.
We have to remember that like people are misguided by design. They're up against like a really sophisticated propaganda network like the history's never seen, and it's like, of course they're out of their minds. Like it's easy to be that way.
So thank you for that. So let me just say thank you everybody on the Twitch stream. Thank you. That raid was great. We got some new people coming in. It has been great seeing those comments. Gives a lot of talk about. We had a lot of fun with you. Hopefully on the Twitch stream, the Marxist is it Marxist archaeologist or archaeologist?
Archaeologist. Come on, man.
Aaron gets like really mad when I get
archaeologist. It's the word archaeologist.
Archaeologist, like in like SimCity. Yeah, right. I played SimCity. I love those things. All right. Thank Ben. I appreciate it. I took a chance with that SimCity 2000 reference. Thank you, Ben.
That was a good one.
Thank you.
Thanks to anyone who
Gabe.
watched on TikTok too. I had this going on TikTok as well.
Oh, hey,
yeah.
no kidding. The internet's on TikTok.
Very
Thank you.
nice.
Wow, we are expanding out there. I'm keeping the live stream live going on.
I love TikTok.
Yeah, we got MySpace is gonna be coming up next. I don't know how they have a streaming option,
Yeah,
but
we're gonna have a live stream 24/7 that you can just watch Chris.
that's great. We're gonna do it's gonna be like the Truman Show. I'm gonna have a telegraph machine. I've learned Morse code over the past couple of weeks. It's gonna be great, folks. But please follow us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, whatever you're into, we're on it. Send us an email at theLeftOppositionPodcast@gmail.com. Yes,
hey,
Mark, there we go. Look at, wow, Radicalize Me is Joe's show. He goes solo. Please.
Oh God, how do I mute it? Oh
yes,
God.
Mark.
Okay, we're
Oh
muted.
God, I hate my voice. I have an awful voice, and I hate hearing it. Thank you. I know I feel self-conscious, but also I do another podcast. If you're a letter carrier, and you're you like to know what's going on at the post office, the Next Generation Carrier podcast. That's my other one I do. So if you want to follow me there, where I talk about the union and how much our union leadership sucks, that's it. So we'll talk about it there. So yes, please, if you can give us a 5-star review, we would greatly appreciate it. It helps us in the algorithms. Give us a like on our YouTube page as well. It does help. Also, if you got a couple of bucks, maybe you're a rich, wealthy person, or you're working class like the rest of us, and you have $1, you can subscribe on a Patreon on the Left Opposition Podcast. It does help with the Zoom that we're using right now. Plus, you can, it's money. Whatever you want to give. $1, you don't have to. It's fine. We understand it's tough out there, but we do appreciate
I'll say
it.
for on Patreon, for $1,000 a month, I will give you my personal thumbs up.
Yes, that's it. So follow Aaron on the Marxist Paleontologist. That's his Twitch stream. It's going to be a great one. So thank you, Donut Jim. He's a hero. All right, everyone. We're going to be back maybe in next week or two. I'll be back in 2 weeks. The rest of the crew might be here next week, but it's Russia imperialist. I'm excited. So none of you go. We're going to shut the stream. Then we're going to talk about this because I think we got a humdinger of an episode with this too. So, all right. So everyone, thank you on Twitch and everyone else. Thank you very much. Keep up the fight. Keep up the struggle. And we'll see you in a week or two.